There are a lot of mysteries in life. Who ate all my snacks? Why are women not impressed by my juggling? And what's a unique ancestry that I can bring to my next TTRPG game night? The answer to those questions are, I ate my snacks. They are impressed, but you should have a wide variety of hobbies and interests. And you can find unique ancestries with Battlezoo and their Year of Mysteries. Every month in 2026, Battlezoo delivers a fresh, bizarre, and lovingly unhinged ancestry straight to your inbox. Get ready to spice up your D&D or Pathfinder game faster than a wizard's bad life choices. Why settle for elves again when you can play as 13 unique and bizarre ancestries, such as a grumpy Sasquatch, a sea serpent with anger issues, or a dinosaur person, a guy ceratops, a girlociraptor, a human Saurus rex. You don't have to use any of these names, but you do get to play as a dinosaur with a great sword, and that seems awesome.
But Jack, this is the Year of Mysteries, so let's get mysterious. With each new ancestry, every month you'll also find a puzzle. Solve each and input the solution at battlezoo.com to slowly reveal the year-long secret and become a seeker of mysteries. There's a leaderboard for puzzle solvers, and if you solve all 12, you'll earn a free prize as you unlock the final truth, as well as one last secret you can add to your games. What could it be? The color of my underpants?
Mine have pictures of fish on them. Head on over to yearofmysteries.com and start uncovering the clues today. I can juggle for a long time.
It's time for Roll for Combat.
Hey everyone, we called an audible, and although we were supposed to have Derik Melinda, we have someone way better today. We have Mark Seifter. Sorry, we have Jessica. Yay!
I assume that I bullied him too much last night, and that's why I'm here to take his place.
That is correct. You're a big bully.
That's okay. Derik came in and stole one of your E's and replaced it with an I, it looks like.
What? Did I mess up?
Wow.
Did I type her name incorrectly? Did I?
Yes.
Oh,
yes, my last name.
Well, I'll fix that. Hold on. Why don't you do the intros, Mark, while I fix
I just was
her
thinking
name.
it was because of Derik, because if you look at the way you actually spelled it and you switch the D and the R, it's exactly spelled the same as Derik's very idiosyncratic Derik with the D-E-R-I-K.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right. No one cares.
So for everyone who's joining us for the first time, or if you're not, I'm Mark Seifter. I am the director of game design at Roll for Combat. Previously, I worked at Paiza, one of the creators of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. That over there is Stephen Glicker, our publisher at Roll for Combat. And below me, why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Yes, I'm... Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm Gavin Norman. I run the indie company Necrotic Gnome. Publisher of Old School Essentials and Dolmenwood.
And I am Jessica Redekop. I am a game designer, and I do freelance work for various publishers, including Stephen Glicker, Roll for Combat.
That's right. This is how I'm finding out how to spell your name. I just picked up the book you wrote, and I'm looking at it from the cover to make sure I'm spelling it right.
It is correct now, yeah.
Yeah.
See? Magic. So this is something that's been in the works for over a year, because that's the last time I said, hey, we should have Gavin on the show and talk about Dolmenwood, because Dolmenwood looks awesome. I love the style of this thing. It looks so freaking cool. And then, and I never heard of it. And I'm like, and then I saw it did $1 million on Kickstarter. I'm like, what? What is this thing? I've never even heard of it. It just did $1 million. I better learn what this is. And then Ben Milton's like, you never heard of Dolmenwood? What are you, a dope? And I'm like, thanks, Ben. So I was like, I guess not. But why don't you tell us?
I'm surprised you hadn't heard of it, Stephen.
I know, me too. I was surprised as well.
I don't think you're a dope. I just think it's unusual. You usually hear of these things. I'm
usually pretty good about this stuff, but well, I just want to know, like, because supposedly the history was like, well, what was the history? It started out like as a zine or something, or you started out putting out like small articles and then it combined into one massive volume. How did it come about?
Yeah. So it's a long and kind of twisty history. So we first had the idea for Dolmenwood in about 2017, I think, something like that.
Same year as the
maybe
first
earlier.
PAX Unplugged.
Actually earlier. Yeah, earlier. I can't remember. 2015, something around then. And we kind of, we had this vision of like big campaign setting, like a map with a hex map, 200 hexes odd, big campaign book that like tells you what's in every single hex, loads of like settlements, things like that. To go with it, a player's book with all the kind of new like character options, and a monster book full of new monsters. That proved to be kind of a bit of an overblown vision to begin with for a small like hobbyist kind of writers. So we decided to start publishing a zine instead. So we'd write a couple of articles for each issue, like maybe an article with a few new monsters, short adventure, a new character class, stuff like this. So you just get like a little kind of snapshot of part of the Dolmenwood world in each issue of the zine. So the zine was called Wormskin, which doesn't have any special meaning in Dolmenwood. It just sounds cool. So then we published 8 issues of this, and so after that, I had this kind of checklist of like all the things I wanted to include in Dolmenwood, like all the all the hexes we wanted to detail, all the different factions in the world. And I think after 8 issues of the zine, we'd got maybe about 10% of the way through this checklist, and I was like, I don't think it's going to work publishing another like whatever 8 times 9 issues of this zine. So to play the game, you just have this like insane stack of zines, and you wouldn't know what was in which issue. So then I kind of turned back to the idea of compiling everything into these 3 big books. Went into hiding in a cave for a few years, and came out with the finished Dolmenwood, which then launched on Kickstarter. So that's the kind of brief history of how it was developed.
I mean, that's crazy. I'm looking at it. It's like the writing is you. I mean, there's obviously additional writing, but
yeah. It's I'd say it's kind of 90% me, and then 10% like a lot of other people contributed, like hex descriptions, things like that.
that's still pretty crazy that you just went into a cave and wrote. This is a lot. I mean, these books are huge. I mean, the campaign book is, I'm looking here, it's 473 pages. The player's book is 200 pages. I mean, the monster book is
even the map
173.
folio is an impressive 73 pages.
I know the map book is 73 pages. I mean,
many of them are the same map, but with different overlays for different kind of useful information on it, which I found to be awesome. I've talked about it before when I'm talking about ways to design like a hex map or something like that on my channel. I was like, I tell people, think about different aspects of your map that are interesting, and then I pointed out that in Dolmenwood that there's like this many pages, all of which are showing a different aspect to tell people sort of as a empowerment that they too could come up with like lots of different types of things to include in their map.
No, I'm actually showing
that was one of the kind of goals early on, that it would be like, the map in terms of like the geographical space isn't that big. It's maybe, I don't know what it's like, 26-mile hexes wide, something like that. So, it's a big forest, but it's not like a huge country or anything. But to have a very, very like dense amount of kind of gameable content within that area.
Oh, these settlement maps are so cool.
Yeah, that's Arlen Ortiz. Loved his. I just saw his stuff online and was like, oh yeah, this is the guy to ask about this.
That's the cover artist as well, right?
The cover artist is Ulla Thinell.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Who's from Finland.
The covers are so beautiful.
Yeah, I need to get this person's name because this stuff is. Do you have one person? How many artists do you have? Because it looks the same, but it has to be more.
There's a lot of artists. Yeah, there's one person did the covers, one person did all the like chapter. When you have a new chapter, there's a page with like a full page art. One person did all of those, and then through the book, it's a bunch of different artists.
You can see it; they're credited, and it says which pages they're on in the credits. There's like 16 artists that did different things. Yeah, maybe more across different books.
Yeah, I think I can't remember the number actually, but I think there was probably 600 odd art pieces in the books. So just the art direction was a really big job. So we had a huge, overwhelming spreadsheet for filling in all the art slots.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so the way we designed the book was like writing and then layout first. So, rather than commissioning an art piece and then finding somewhere to fit it, we would design the layout and then we'd see, okay, there's this space remaining on this page, so we'll commission art for that space.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people do that, and you could tell when that's done because like the art always fits perfectly in these little areas and little spaces, and I know a lot of people who do that. Like I'm looking at the regions section on page 8 and 9 that's up right now, and you can see like in the little lower left hand corner, lower right hand corner, you have these like little pieces of art that are just there to fill space, and they look nice. We go the opposite, is that I order the art, I fit it in, and then I make it work, and then we fill in more text.
Right. Yeah, that's it. I mean, you can always cut a bit of text or like expand it a bit.
We never cut.
Different
We
approaches.
just keep adding.
Just add pages. Yeah.
So, Gavin, does this approach mean that you didn't have to go through the horrors of editing for copy fit?
Yes, basically, yeah. So a lot of the writing was done in layout, actually.
Yeah.
So, I had the books in InDesign and would write directly into the layout. And where, if I reach like 2 pages, if I know a certain section has 2 pages allocated for it, then, at that very stage, I can then like expand or contract for the layout, and then any space remaining goes to art. So,
Wizardry. Wizardry.
It's I guess it's just an alternative approach for making a book. I think it works pretty well when it's mostly one writer.
Yeah.
I think if you're on a big team project with like, a dozen or whatever writers, you probably wouldn't have that luxury of being able to write directly into the layout like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that we're kind of a small enough company, I guess, basically that is feasible.
Yeah, people always seem shocked, like people from outside of the industry or people who just read books always seem shocked that freelance game designers or writers are hired and then paid per word. But the thing that they don't understand is that you don't just turn over whatever number of words you want, and the more words you write, the more words you get paid for. You are hired for like 700 words because you are hired for like this specific section of this page.
Right.
And like, if you don't turn over 700 words exactly, you're causing problems.
Sometimes you have to spend time deleting words because, and sometimes it's not your fault as the freelance author, because the person who assigned it asked you to bite off more than maybe they should have asked you to bite off for that many words. And so sometimes it takes just as long to cut it down to get it to fit in the space as it actually did to write it.
Editing for copy fit.
As for the Bard says, writing directly in InDesign is the way to go. I've done it before for Roll for Combat when we're adding new sections to the year compilation books. So like when we did the Year of Legends, and Jess wrote Swarmbloods for that, but then we had Living Legends, the compilation book, and so Stephen just brought in all of the PDFs of the original ones, essentially, and from those grabbed the from the InDesign files, grabbed those and put them into a bigger book. And there were gaps and there were new sections that were added in. And so it didn't make any sense to convert that all back into Word or something like that. Into InDesign. That would have been a disaster.
No.
So I did write directly into InDesign, and I don't know, I find it harder to proof it when it's in InDesign than when it's in a word processor. But other than that, it's very nice to know how long it's actually going to take in on the page.
Yeah.
So what was your goal with this? Because we actually were talking about your project way back in the beginning of the year when it was when Kelsey Dion was on. I don't know if you remember that, Mark, and because we were talking when she was finishing up her second Kickstarter, because we were talking about how Western marches and like these big overview maps are like the new hotness now. And then we brought up Dolmenwood because I'm like, because that's what it is. And I love that. I actually secretly, Mark, I haven't even told you this. I kind of want to do that for us, for our world, is to do like an overview map for the world or a section of the world and like kind of do a little.
Well, yeah, I mean, it should be a smaller area, like in Dolmenwood,
the
that you can
whole
actually.
world, Mark. Be 10,000 hexes.
Given that our attention to detail, I would say, is similar to in this project where we always include tons of details. I think we want to bite off something that would be about the size of Dolmenwood.
10,000.
Steven, it's 450 pages for just this many hexes.
We're going to use the Dolmenwood model. We'll release 1 hex a week for the next 10 years.
The next 20,000 years. And then by then the world will be
then it will be a planet. Yeah.
It's actually not a bad model. Now I think about it, I'm like,
that's a horrible model to do it for 20,000 years, Steven.
No, I'm talking about the 1 a week or 1 a month. You do a hex a month. Yeah. Gavin, you up for it? I didn't say I was going to do it. We got Gavin here.
I'm good for writing hexes for a while. Yeah, I think.
Oh, that's a shame. Now, but because you have, I mean, I'm flipping through. I don't want to show every page live because I have everything here. I mean, this is nuts. I mean, how did you organize this to even write this much? I mean, what was your overall goal? Because Derik and I were talking last night. We had a show on Derik's channel, Derik from Knights of Last Call, and we were talking about because he wants to do something in the industry, but he has no skills. So we're trying to figure out what he can do. And Jess was roasting him the whole time, which was fun. And then in the last 10 minutes of the stream, after a 5.5 hour stream, we actually came up with a really good idea, a party game, which is pretty damn good, I have to say. Like, might have to really do that. It is a really good idea.
It is an actual game that you should actually make.
We're going to talk about it.
What is the concept?
I know you were.
Game?
No, we
don't know if
kidding.
we should reveal that right now.
Yeah,
the fact that it's buried at the 5-hour mark of Derik's stream means that like nobody is ever going to see it. If we put it at the beginning of this stream, that's too much. We have to put this like 3 hours in.
I see. So security by obscurity.
So anyhow, back to this. He was, I mean, that's kind of what I wanted him on because he's like, we were trying to figure out what he can do. And he just couldn't even come up with one concept. And then I see this and it's like 800 pages of nothing but concepts. So what was your goal for this? Because it's just, and we were talking about that last night.
What about your inspiration in addition to the goal, right, Steven? Because when you have this many concepts, you must have a deep wellspring of inspiration.
Well, also, and then real quick, because one of the things I kept saying is that because when people design systems, they don't realize how hard it is because you have to put out, we're talking about this a lot. It's like they spend so much time putting out the classes and the rules and the gods and like they do everything. And then the game is finally ready to go, but then there's no monsters. And it's like the thing they always forget. And that actually is very important. You need monsters. And it's always like, by the time they finish everything, because monster books are extremely expensive to do comparatively, and they are a pain. I mean, we do monster books, so I love them, but they're a pain, and it's sort of the last thing you want to do. And everyone I see who does this, they come out with the rules, they come out with the classes, they come out with the worlds, they come out with the DM guide, but then they literally don't come out with any monsters, or they're like, just use 5e or something. You put out a campaign book, a player's book, a monster book, a map book, 4 adventures. Congratulations, you officially are. You came out with a real full system that is ready to go. So
I mean, I guess a big part of that is from the beginning meshing the system with the setting. So it was never just a rule system on its own. So I think like the original design goal really was to take old school D&D, and instead of having it like heavily inspired by like sword and sorcery, Conan, like Lankmar, Lord of the Rings, this kind of stuff, have it instead inspired by fairy tales. Like Lord Dunsany was a big inspiration, and Susanna Clarke, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I read those 2 books like in quick succession, and like my mind was just blown, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to like bring this feeling into a D&D world. So that was kind of the original inspiration for Dolmenwood.
What did you start with?
So like, it was always like the setting itself, but then the kind of rules elements as well, like all new, a lot of new character classes, a lot of new kind of kindreds, we call them in Dolmenwood, like the races, a lot of new monsters. So like there's a familiar kind of core of D&D there, like in terms of, hit points and armor class, blah, blah, blah. But all of the kind of moving parts on it are very strongly integrated with the setting. And a lot of it is not standard D&D stuff.
And then, I mean, like, where did you even start? Because I imagine, where do you even start with something like this? Like, it's so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually from the beginning, I had quite a high level map of like, okay, I want these character classes in it, these kindreds, here's a big brainstorm list of possible monsters, like, here are the kind of 7 factions. And we had the map right at the beginning as well. So here's the hex map. We'll put like settlements here. So I think that was the kind of framework for it from the very beginning, that like, even though it took like a crazy amount of time to flesh out all of these different items, there was the checklist there from the start. And then, things got added and removed along the way. But
yeah, when you say from the start, do you mean from like when you started deciding to do a zine, or do you mean? Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. From I think it was 2015, maybe the sort of original kind of thoughts. The sort of brainstorming about what Dolmenwood should be, and like a lot of it is still there. I remember we were talking about a hunter class and like an enchanter, and like there was originally going to be a type of like deer-headed humanoid kindred, which was called Deorlings. Those were turned into monsters along the way, so they're not a playable option. But so things kind of jiggled around a bit like that. But that kind of high-level checklist, I think, was what enabled me to guide it to completion in the end, even though it took a crazy long time.
So all I know is you have the bard in here, and as long as you have a bard class, that's all that matters. Because that is one of my favorite classes of all time.
Yeah, it was fun to design a bard that isn't a spellcaster as well. Like, I love spellcasters, but I don't feel like every class in the game should have spellcasting magic. So the bard in Dolmenwood is more based on like, kind of Pied Piper type character. So they have. They can play music and it can enchant people, but it's not like spells in the normal sense like a magic user would have.
Mm-hmm. So what was actually in the original booklets that you published? Like how did it... Because obviously that's how you, quote, started when you were making those. So what was in those originally?
So I think the first issue had like two kindreds. It was like the Mossling and the Grimalkin. Mosslings are like little, sort of the Dolmenwood equivalent of a dwarf, like little sort of stocky guys, but they're overrun with like plants and fungus, and they live in the kind of deep, dank recesses of the swampy woodland. And Grimalkins are like little cat fairies, so they're like humanoid cats who can change shape into a normal cat or a sort of humanoid cat or a kind of crazy like Gru-like ball of chaos kind of thing. So it was that and a couple of monsters, and I think like an article about fungi. And then issue 2 was like an article about psychedelic plants and like, I don't know, I can't remember, but it was very like random. In the zines there was no real structure or rhyme or reason to what was in each issue. It was, we just basically wrote whatever kind of whim came to us at that time, which was fun, but it wasn't a good way to publish a setting by any means.
Did you eventually settle into a rhythm of like, this is the formula of what a volume will contain, or did they remain kind of like just whatever for the full run?
No, they were all scattershot. All of the 8 zine issues were very random. And actually, I mean, I remember running Dolmenwood years ago, using these zines as reference. And even for me, who wrote most of the material, I didn't really have a clue what was in each issue. Like, you know, when I'd be like, okay, the players are in Hex 0204. I've got that highlighted on my map that it's written up, but which issue was that in? So that was kind of a realization that, like, yeah, this is fun, but it's not a good way to publish a setting.
Mm-hmm.
So the Mossling reminds me that I saw, I think less than a day ago on one of the main Pathfinder 2nd edition Reddit, someone was asking, how can I build my Dolmenwood Mossling Friar in Pathfinder 2nd edition?
Oh, right.
So we have
Cool.
all the people we need right now to get like a definitive answer from this person. So what do we think? How
Not
would
me.
This isn't Conrasu.
Wait, no, Steven, I
Yes.
said we have all the people we need. I didn't say we need all the people we have.
Oh. All right, I'll take a break. You guys just talk about how
Well,
you design this stuff.
Like the essence of this character that is Mossling Friar, like what are the most important things about that? I guess Gavin, you know best.
Yeah, that's an unusual one because Mosslings are, you know, as I said, they live in very isolated kind of communities and they don't follow, it's called the Pluralitine Church, is like the main kind of human religion of Dolmenwood. They typically don't follow that religion. They have their own religion called Mogbar, which is like worshipping kind of, you know, as you can imagine, obscure kind of earth deities and things like this, mushrooms. So a Mossling who's chosen to be a friar is obviously someone who's gone outside of their own culture and has somehow got involved in this kind of human culture and the human religion. So just that concept is a pretty unusual character. But yeah, Mosslings have abilities to, like they grow different kind of plants and fungi on their body as they, you know, basically as they go up in level. Each time you level, there's a table you roll on that is like, you grow parsley on your feet, or, you know, whatever, like kind of different random like plant infestations. Friars are like a kind of non-combat divine caster. So they have a faster spell progression than the cleric class in Dolmenwood, including they get spells from first level, which clerics don't. But they can't use many weapons. They can just use like simple stuff like staff, club, things like that. They have a special ability where they can use culinary implements as weapons. So you can use a frying pan or a big sausage or things like that as a weapon. They're good at foraging and herbalism. So that's kind of their vibe, like a wandering wilderness, friend to the people kind of priest.
So they're more focused on some of that aspect of the priest rather than like heavily into the magic aspect.
They get more spells per day.
Oh, they get more spells.
They
so they also are heavily in magic as well.
Yeah.
They kind of have both.
But they don't have the kind of heavy armor, heavy weapons that clerics have. So, like in Dolmenwood, especially, clerics emphasize this like holy warrior kind of archetype, whereas friars are the like wandering monastic type.
So they would almost definitely use the cloistered cleric type from Pathfinder instead of the war priest because they're more clothy and they have more spells if they have the cloistered cleric type, but they might want to take domains that emphasize travel or wandering so that they would be able to fit in with that a little bit better. I could even see trying to go into like exemplar archetypes, not because of the demigod aspects, but because of the weird weapons. Exemplars sometimes use weird, simple weapons, like the examples that Gavin gave there. For ancestry, like maybe like something involving a fungus fleshy.
I have a couple thoughts on ancestries that map onto this funky little guy. First of all, the Conrasu is an option. The lore of the Conrasu doesn't totally map necessarily, but the like physically what a Conrasu is, I think, is not completely far off, particularly if you do a Conrasu with the Ardande ancestry. My second thought is that this might just be a sprite. Like Pathfinder has a player ancestry for like Lil Faye, and it might just be that. And then the third thought is maybe this is like a fungus leshy.
Yeah, it also kind of in the pictures kind of looks like dwarves, so it could be an Ardante, dwarf.
Yeah, it could be Ardante dwarf. It could be Ardante gnome.
Right. It could also be a
Rasu.
mushy from Year of Mysteries from Roll for Combat, which isn't going to be out yet until next year. But the Kickstarter is launching in 2 weeks, so that is a like super fungus themed ancestry as well.
Which one are we looking at? The Kindred.
We're looking at the Mossling because someone on Reddit, and this literally within the past 24 hours, asked. They were like, "I love Dolmenwood, and I play a Mossling Friar. Now my group is starting Pathfinder. I want to convert my Mossling Friar."
Well, I just brought it up.
There you go, random Reddit person. You've got your answer.
There we go. I even sent them a response on Reddit to let them know that we got
an
official analysis of their concept from the concept of their character being unusual and interesting from Gavin Norman, the creator of Dolmenwood.
I would say be a mushy, because they are little mushroom people, and they would be similar. Or a fungus leshy. Or leshy. Pretty much any green leshy would work.
So for the people who are watching this and are like on the fence and are considering Dolmenwood, I will ask a question that is specifically about me, but will also let you talk to those people as well, which is my sister-in-law has not really played a lot of RPGs, but she really likes them. We've been playing some with her, and she's from Ghana. She likes a lot of British themed stuff and fairy stories. We've done Pathfinder, of course, because when your brother-in-law created Pathfinder, you do Pathfinder. We did Changeling the Dreaming, and Dolmenwood is on my list of ones to try. That is already kind of near the top, but there's several others. What should make me pick Dolmenwood up off that list for the next one we try with her?
I would say that it's the like very, very detailed setting and the focus on usability for the referee, especially. That like, when you hear this this talk about super detailed settings, a lot of people think like, oh no, does that mean I have to memorize hundreds of pages of lore in order to run this? But the big focus on Dolmenwood, especially in the campaign book, the referee's book, is on being able to pick it up and play it quickly. So there's I'd say there's like 40 or 50 pages of like background, the history of the place, the different regions, the like factions. That's important to read. But like the individual hex descriptions, which is 200 pages of the big book, you don't have to read all those in advance. You can say, okay, we're going to start in this town, just pick one on the map, read about that town, and just read the sort of surrounding hexes. And then those will have kind of hooks to adventures that you can feed to the players. Each settlement also has a big list of rumors that you can feed to players, which will then drag them into one of the kind of neighboring hexes. So it's pretty easy to start, and it just keeps itself going. That like every hex they go into and explore, there'll be hooks to other things and kind of mysteries to solve. NPCs with quests or problems, monster layers, things like this. So it's like as players start, just as they step out of the village, just naturally the world starts kind of weaving and dragging them into different stories.
So would you recommend that sort of natural dragging into stories if I decided to do this, and especially if it was like a smattering and then we switch to something else? Or would you recommend I take one of the 4 existing adventures and use that as a starting point into the world instead of sort of a naturalistic approach?
Yeah, what you can do, there's a couple of the adventures are specifically intro adventures. So in the campaign book, there's an intro adventure in the back called Pipes on Drooman Knoll, and there's another adventure called Winter's Daughter, which is a separate volume. Either of those you can kind of place anywhere in the world. So if you wanted to, pick one of the towns on the map to start in, place one of these adventures in one of the kind of neighboring hexes, then you've got an already fleshed out, like much more in-depth location, like a dungeon basically. So then you can feed players some rumors to that, and that could be the first kind of thing they explore. And then after that, they'll have other hooks for other things, and we'll want to explore around the area.
That makes sense. And
So it's strongly set up for sandbox play, basically. There's no there are overarching kind of historical kind of storylines and conflicts and things with the factions, but in terms of the adventure material, it's very sandbox heavy. Yeah,
Awesome.
There's not like an adventure path or anything like that. It's set up to enable sandbox play, which is super fun.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see what your players are going to do when they have all these tools in their sandbox. Like, who are they going to ally with? Who do they just hate from the moment they meet them?
Exactly.
And decide just like, we're going to destroy these guys. It's like, what did they do to you? It was like, they wouldn't give me like their cupcake that was at the tea party.
Right.
And I asked for another cupcake and they said, no, that's my cupcake.
We had one question. We had, and by the way, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, because this is the only time you'll ever get the chance. Unless you're going to PAX Unplugged, and then you can ask Gavin in person. Have you seen the number of patrons on page 190? It must be the longest list of patrons ever. Gavin, how many are there?
It was a lot. It was very difficult to fit them all on 2 pages. You'll notice the font reduces significantly in size on those pages. I think it was like around 1,000. Yeah, in the history of Dolmenwood, that was a stage I forgot to mention, actually, that there was a few years. It was when I was in the cave. I was running the Dolmenwood Patreon from a cave on my laptop with a solar panel for power. And I was releasing like monthly kind of content packages, and that was what really helped me to push through and actually kind of finish this. That I had these hundreds, thousand, whatever people waiting for the next package each month.
And then they were waiting for the physical books, because I know that's why we were going to have you on literally a year ago. And but because the PDFs are ready, but then they said, now let's wait till the physical books are out. And then they were talking, and now people are starting to get them. So
some people in chat have said that their book either just came in or they saw the shipping notice and it hasn't come quite yet. That's very exciting.
I think the fulfillment in US and rest of the world is somewhere over 50% done now. So within the next month,
it takes a while.
It should be.
It takes
Everyone
a while.
should have their stuff. So it's going to be amazing to see it like properly out in the world finally.
Will you have it at PAX Unplugged? Will there be?
We will have copies. It probably won't quite be ready for sale at that point. It would depend, if the warehouse manages to ship out all the Kickstarter copies by PAX, then we'll probably have it on sale. But at least we'll have copies that people can come by and look at it. Bask in the mossy glory.
But people can bring their own copies, and have you signed them?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Just like people can bring their own copies of Leshy Dragons and have Jess sign those as well.
They finally aren't being held by customs, although apparently Battle Dragons, not because it was randomly inspected, but just because there are not a lot of people working at customs right now, thanks to everything.
It was released today. I got a notice.
Oh, thank goodness! So that sounds like we'll be able to make it then in time.
Yeah,
maybe.
I have 6 of each of Battle for sale at PAX.
Okay.
But I'll actually get a case of each book, so we'll have more than enough.
It's tricky, isn't it? The like vagaries of like shipping and fulfillment versus the absolutely non-vagaries of like there is a con on this date.
Yeah,
doesn't always work out kind of smoothly coinciding.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of used to it at this point. It actually goes a lot smoother. This is the thing, because I have friends who work overseas in other countries that are not as efficient, and they tell me nightmare stories. Like I had a friend in the 90s who they did all their manufacturing in India, and he would have to go there every month to like bribe like tons of people to make sure his stuff got through. So I hear those stories, and I'm like, this is way easier. Let me tell you.
Okay, it's not too bad.
I'm like, it held up in customs a month. It sucks, but I don't have to fly over there and start finding the right people to bribe to get it released. So anyhow,
So I see that you have a Dolmenwood calendar. At what point in the process did you decide that your setting needs a calendar?
I guess that was pretty early on as well. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I guess I wanted to just trying to dig back what the aim of the calendar was exactly. There's something about it that is like mathematically works quite well. Oh, that's it. It's the number of moon cycles. I think, if I remember correctly, the moon cycle is the same as our earthly moon cycle, but it exactly meshes with 1 year. So every year, you know, in the real world with our weird calendar, the moon phases don't line up. You know, every year they sort of shift. But in the world of Dolmenwood, the moon phases exactly line up with the calendar year. Yeah. So you can use the same calendar every year. You know, you don't have to like have a different calendar with different dates for the moon cycles each year.
And then I
wanted the moon to have like mechanical effects, so wanted that to be like evenly spaced.
Does that mean the years are a different number of days?
Yes.
Which means a character who is
maybe
a certain
360.
age. So a character who's 100 years old is actually like almost over an entire year younger in human days compared to a person from Earth.
The other thing that I find so interesting about this calendar is that you've also included like astrology.
Right.
You have these moon signs optional rule where depending on the state of the moon when your character is born, they have optionally different effects on that character.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
So I'm not sure that somehow that was just something that I wanted kind of from the beginning, that the moon would have this effect. And of course, if you some of the kindreds are fairies, which means they come from another world, and they are not affected by the moon because obviously they weren't born in the mortal world, so the moon didn't have that effect on their birth. So that's just a kind of small quirk of the like mortal kindreds.
Oh no, I'm looking here. It's 252 days a year with 29 and 1/3 days per lunar cycle. So
352.
352, that's closer. Okay. So that's actually a full 13 days shaved off each time.
right. 13 and a quarter, right? I think officially.
That's right.
No leap years in Dolmenwood.
That's right. So that means that every 28 years or so, you like are a year younger than an Earth person. Right. So someone who's 29 in Dolmenwood is about as old as someone who's 28 on Earth.
Right, yeah, maybe I should release a kind of conversion guide for that.
In case somebody gets sent from one world into the other.
Yeah.
Well, I do find it. I always wonder when people do their own calendar systems and like why? Because it's like you have to have a pretty good reason to do it because it seems like so much work.
I think for me, it's just a fun part of the flavor of the world. There's a lot of stuff like that in Dolmenwood that like. It doesn't like have a super massive effect on the kind of setting lore or on the rules of the game, but it just immerses you in the feeling of the place. You know, there's a lot of there's big sections of like different like food and drinks and like pipe leaf and things like that.
So I was gonna mention that because that was my god. So when he was looking over at Derik Melinda, Derik, are you on? He wrote me and said. And he sent me a picture of the pipe leaf page, and he wrote why. he's like why flavor. Do they need this?
It's
and
just flavor, you know.
And I wrote him back, and I said it's all about the vibes, man.
Yeah.
Some people love it. Like I think it's worth it to make a calendar, especially if you have a lore or flavor reason for it. Here's an example of a time I made a calendar. I wanted it to have the same number of days as an Earth year, which actually was a little challenging. But there were these 7 elemental sort of moons that rotated at 3 different speeds. So you wound up with a situation where you have 7 months of 7 weeks of 7 days each based, and then each of those months, weeks, and days had one of the elemental affinities. So if you were on the month, week, and day of fire magic was really strong on that particular day of the year. Now that's 343 days. So there were also interstitial days in between. There were like 3-day periods in between each month that were not considered to be part of that month, where there was no moon. And then one single day at the end of the year that where all magic was like basically didn't work very well. And so that added up to 365. And I thought that was cool. I don't know, Steven. I don't think that that kind of thing is unnecessary. It can be good for world building.
No, I didn't say it was unnecessary, but I feel like it can be, unless you give, like, and this is a good reason, because depending on like when you're born, it changes your character, which is fun. But just to do it just because you want different names of the months, the days, and the years, it's like, who cares? I mean, other than vibes. I'm
a little calendar freak. I would do it just to have different days.
You mean you don't like Oath Day in Pathfinder, Steven?
No,
And you don't like the months being named after the Pathfinder days?
Hey man, in the world of Alucard, we have a different year, but I keep the days the same.
There you go.
Well,
back when my group was new to Pathfinder, we couldn't remember which of the days were which, and the only one we remembered was Oath Day. So whenever somebody asked, like, what day is it in Galarian, and we'd be like, it's Oath Day. You said that yesterday. Okay, it's the day after Oath Day.
See, what I would do, and this actually I'd probably do for Alucard, is change the names of the months and the days back to the Roman names. Like Moon Day, Sunday is Sunday, like, because those were all, those were all bastardized.
Venus Day for Friday,
right? They were all like bastardized over time. But I actually like the original names more than the newer ones. Some of them. So,
well, that must mean
you're going for, doesn't it? Really,
right? If you like the Roman deities more than the Norse, right? Because it changed from Veneris Dies, which is Venus's day, to Frigga's Day, Friday,
right?
And that's why in Spanish you have the Ernes, because it's still closer to.
Or
the
I would
Latin.
do a hybrid, like Frigga Day is actually, I like that, because then you still have the F, and I like Frigga a lot.
Yeah, and Thor's Day for
Thursday
Thursday.
Is great.
Wodan for
that's
Wednesday.
A great name. Yeah.
So
Wednesday.
it sounds like you do like the Norse ones. You just want the Norse deities to be more obvious.
Yeah. Well, the only one I don't think that changed at all was Sunday, because sun is the sun. So.
Sun is sun, and Monday is just basically Moon Day. It just lost one O, but it's didn't change.
I know my calendar
there's one
day which has a connection to our real days. So the Sunday equivalent is called sunning. So there's a kind of a lock point where you can go, okay, I know what that is. You hear sunning and you're like, okay, that's Sunday. I think the others have different names, but
So you spend years of your life locked in a cave with solar batteries. You finally get this out. You finally do the Kickstarter. You finally get the PDFs out. The books are out. Now what?
Okay, so
that's what
I've actually been, since finishing Dolmenwood, during the kick or shortly after the Kickstarter, I've actually been working a lot on our other game, which is Old School Essentials.
Right.
So the big thing we've been working on for that is a book which is called The Demonic Grimoire, which brings, obviously demons into the game. So the Old School Essentials is based on the BX D&D rules, which never had demons. I was tempted to kind of shove a few in there, like 5 or 10, kind of AD&D derived ones. But then I always had this vision that you could do a much bigger book on demons. It's such a rich topic that I wanted to kind of do it justice and not just have a smattering of demons in the bestiary section. So this is the kind of big thing we've been working on, which we're going to publish next year. So it's about 170 pages, big bestiary section, obviously a big section on like all the different demon lords and their cults and their like the outer planes that they rule, with new spells for clerics who worship those deities. Has rules for like summoning demons, making pacts, summoning familiars, this kind of stuff. Some demonic magic items, and then some character options, like it has a tiefling and a cultist, chaos knight, and a demon hunter. So that's kind of the biggest thing we've been working on currently. But we are also just starting work on some new Dolmenwood supplements. So now the game is kind of coming out. Obviously, we want to continue to support it. So the first big book we're working on is it's kind of codenamed the Book of Layers. I don't know if that will be the final name for it. But it's a book of like probably around 30 short adventures in Dolmenwood. So the idea is that you can, like we were saying about the hex crawl, how to start a kind of hex crawl sandbox campaign. You need adventures that you can just plonk down anywhere. So that's what this book will provide, So there'll be around 30 short adventures, 2 to 6 pages each with like a map and, kind of background and hooks and how you get your players into this, and then just the adventure areas. So there'll be around a lot of different themes. So there'll be a bunch will be like aquatic and subterranean and like, based in kind of ruined fortresses or active fortresses, magical spaces, this kind of thing. So the aim of this book is that a referee can just kind of, be running their game and like, oh, I need an adventure for next session. Maybe some kind of ruined place. Open the book to the ruined section, and there'll be a selection of short adventures that they can then drop in. And of course, all the adventures will be heavily like meshed into the world of Dolmenwood and the lore. So, we'll then have hooks to other adventures and factions and things like this. So that's what we're working on currently.
All right, cool. Yeah, because I was wondering, because that's what always happens is you come out with it and then you're like, okay, it's done. All right, do we keep going back to it and keep expanding? It's sort of, or do you do something new? You have the itch to keep doing new things rather than redoing or exploring your past.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Dolmenwood, even though, the books we published are very big, there's still so much which can be further fleshed out, and so many adventures can be had in this place that, like, even without talking about, okay, we're going to do 200 hexes to the south of the current map, even without that, just within the 200 hex boundary that we already have, I think there's a lot. So, got lots of plans for that. Also, we'd love to do a mega dungeon for Dolmenwood. Like, there's a ruined kind of fairy palace, which is kind of rife for being a mega dungeon. Obviously, in the campaign book, there was no space to fully detail a 100-page dungeon, but that's another kind of future project that we'd love to get into. So yeah, lots of ideas for future projects, and the first ones are in development as of now.
This is more of a general question because, and I'm showing this. I'm going back and forth between us and the book, depending on what we're talking about. So when I saw this, what pulled me in was immediately the hex grid map and showing each hex and what is found in each hex, because that seems, I just love that concept, which is funny because I hated it in Kingmaker, but I seem to like it in other systems. I think I don't have no idea why, but so you obviously ran it. Like, how do you run these hex systems in your games? Like, how do you run it that people are going from area to area? I'm just curious how you do it in real world, because they're a lot of fun to read and they're a lot of fun to just, lore base off and just see what cool things are in this world. But then how do you use it in practice?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's kind of two ways that players will kind of travel across the map. One is some players just like exploring, they're just like, okay, we're in this village, let's go north and see what's there. That's one way, and obviously they'll run into interesting things along the way, which will then lead them on further adventures. The other way, which I used a lot in Dolmenwood, is to, place an adventure at the opposite end of the map. So, for whatever reason, the players are sent on a quest, or they have some reason to go to somewhere remote in the map. And then, of course, naturally, they have to plan their journey. Maybe they travel along roads for a certain part. Then they're kind of drawn off-road. So just naturally by the placement of adventures as the referee, you can kind of drag people to different regions that you want them to explore.
We had a question, and they said, which version of OSC is Dolmenwood closest to, basic or advanced?
It's closest to advanced, I would say. So Dolmenwood is, I mean, the core rules, the same as OSC Advanced. The core rules are basically the kind of BX rules from the 80s, but it definitely skews heavier towards AD&D. So like Dolmenwood, the separate race and class or kindred and class is the default rule. You can create the kindred classes like in basic D&D, but that's not kind of the default rule. You know, the kind of equipment lists are a lot more detailed in Dolmenwood, like more like AD&D than BX. There's a bunch of like AD&D inspired rules in there as well. Like there's a lot more kind of combat options. There's like rules for training, rules for like XP for magic items, things like that. So it's kind of a hybrid of the two, but I'd say it skews closer to the advanced OSE.
Oh, I'm reading this, and you have such a mean square. There's unicorn hunting grounds. That's so mean, so evil.
Right, yeah, that's one of the fairy princes, yeah, who thinks he owns all the unicorns in Dolmenwood.
I like this book a lot. These sections where you're detailing what's in the different hexes. Stephen, have you noticed that if you mouse over the picture of the hexes, you can click on the adjacent hexes and it links you to that page of the PDF?
Oh yeah, they're hyperlinked. Yeah, there's a lot of hyperlinks in this.
It's really good.
Nice.
So that's I did not notice that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's like an Easter egg. I think it does mention it in the text, but like it's an Easter egg basically for people who discover that. So in the on the end papers as well, there's a whole map, and that is hyperlinked in the PDF. And every hex reference in the book. So every time you see like,
you're right, yeah,
so and so lives in hex 1045, whatever, that is hyperlinked as well. So it was a crazy amount of work.
I was about to say, I'm going to tell you why I don't do that, because it is a crazy amount of work.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great product, though.
It's so hard to do.
I had to write a program to do it in the end. Like it was too much to do manually.
Yeah, I was going to say,
my players are just like,
really hard.
I'm in the ruins of Midgewara and I go north, and all I have to do is click. And then I'm in the ruined watchtower now.
That's
fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's really
great.
Good. It is really good.
Yeah, fortunately, I have a background as a programmer, so I managed to kind of dust off my scripting skills to make the hyperlinks in the book.
Yeah, the problem with that is also every time you update it, since I make our PDFs, you have to redo all that scripting, and like that's why I don't do the hyperlinking, because it's like it actually prevents you from doing new updates, because you're like, oh, I'm not going to do a new version because I have to redo all the links. So too bad, So I
always do it in InDesign, where it will stay when you re-export.
I tried that, but it was a pain to do that in InDesign. Right. I was trying that too.
I guess I'm used to working like that, so.
Yeah, I tried that too. I actually do have a new program that does a lot of automating in PDFs, so we'll see. And they do have new quote AI learning tools in PDF, which is what it's really good for. It's like, oh, take this index and hyperlink it to all the pages, please. And you say, and it says, okay, and in 10 seconds it's done. It's like, thank you.
Yeah, that's actually what I wished for at the time. It's the kind of task, go through the book, find all 4-digit references, hyperlink them to the appropriate hex. You can explain how to do it in one sentence. But, manually going through like thousands of these references isn't feasible. Currently, you have to write a program to get a computer to understand how to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I look forward to the days when you can just explain in words and it will just kind of happen.
So we have James Williamsman wrote, they're playing their 30-second session of Dolmenwood.
Oh, wow.
Like 3 hours, and they're heading to the ruined abbey. Thanks so much to Gavin for their new favorite setting.
Right. That's a really cool adventure. So I hope you all have fun in that.
That's crazy. So why 15th level? It ends at 15th level. It's like I see a lot of people who do 10. I see a lot of people who do 20. I don't see a lot of people do 15.
Yeah. It's because in BX D&D, which is the kind of core foundation of Dolmenwood, it goes up to 14. And I was like, 14, that's really weird. It's got to be at least a kind of round 5 or something. So I bumped it up to 15
there you go.
with the idea that potentially, we might do a future kind of character focused supplement, which, potentially might add like class levels up to 20 or something like that, among many other things. But that's why it's 15 anyway.
Did you try high level play? I'm just curious how that works, or how did you find that to play out? Like at levels 11 to 15.
I've personally not played much beyond like around levels of 7 to 9. I think that this is the thing as well that like, a lot of people talk about like, oh, I wish there was higher levels up to 20 or 30, whatever. But like how many groups actually get to that point in an old school system, at least? I think in modern systems it's more like leveling up is more kind of regular. But in an old school system, you're not even guaranteed to reach level 2. Like, it can take a long time to reach like 5th level. So adding levels to 20 and above doesn't really, you can do it, but the number of people who are actually going to use that content is pretty minimal. So it's kind of diminishing returns of what you use the pages in the book for. If like, only 1% of the players are ever even going to read this section, it's like, probably just don't print that section.
Even for modern games, I think those higher levels are really more aspirational. No, a lot of people will read them, even though they don't get to it, because they want to dream. They want to dream about when they get to that max level, and they always think about it. Even though you're absolutely right about the diminishing returns, no matter what system you're playing. Like there's all kinds of metrics and data that people, even with these longer adventure paths, they start them out. But did they get to the end? Even if it goes all the way up to the top level, it peters off just for any reason in your life, even if your character
does the campaign continue?
Exactly. And so those higher levels are like more like 90%, and like vibes, like the joke that Stephen was making about the pipe. And only 10% in the actual play for groups like my group that just always played high level gameplay. Many groups just never get to it, but for all that, people also analyze heavily based on the first level and the final level. They'll be like, well, I'm determined about the friar, everything I need to know based on level 5, this build of a level 15 friar or whatever it is. And it'd be like, okay, but what about like level 7 friar or level 9? But people overanalyze the very beginning and the very end, and it can cause them to sometimes make very interesting observations that aren't true throughout the process of playing that character.
Yeah, right.
Well, we can have my game.
I want to know from James Williman. He says, even after 32 sessions, my group is still low level because they ran into specters and didn't understand the danger. So what level are you in this game where you've been playing for 32 sessions? So
by the way, Agile Monk says he loves the new glasses on your chest.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I will say real quick, my game, we got up to level 20. And these guys,
they're 1 to 4.
Yeah, it took them 6 years, but we went from we did one campaign, went from level 1 to level 20 in Pathfinder 2nd edition. And then just last week, 2 days ago, those idiots who are now first level and don't remember what it's like to play low level split the party in an extreme encounter, and we're like a hair's width away from TPKing. And after this like absolutely devastating encounter where it's stunning that no one died, that they're like, yeah, we got to reorganize here. We're not level 20 anymore. I was like, yeah, no
I can't
kidding.
Believe they split the party, and they were going up against, they were level 1. They went up against a level 3, a level 2, and multiple, I think,
level ones. 3 level 1s, a level 2, and a level 3, and they're tough level 1s.
Multiple level 1s.
The level 3 had a poison
spray. The level 1s
spray.
aren't that bad.
No, the level
my
ones,
group has gone through them.
except for the fact that they explode after they die and make everything
totally
difficult
explode.
terrain.
They totally explode.
And they make everything difficult terrain, which slows everyone down. And then they were split.
sure.
So it took them like 2 turns just to get next to each other to freaking heal each other. And the level 2 and the level 3 things had poison. So even after they died, they had to keep making saves. And Jason ended up failing so many saves that in the end, he just ran out of poison. And I'm like, oh, okay, the poison ran out, so you're alive.
Wow. Well, we put in the duration in those poisons for a reason, but I have not seen often that it's just like the poison duration ran out before my save throws
It's
kicked
very
in.
rare. That's how bad his rolls were. So I told you it was close. It was very close. And the only reason, oh, you'll like this. The only reason they even survived is because someone did a heal, a stabilize action and failed, but then the fighter came over and I let him do it because he was reading the rules in careful detail. He did the special aid, the reaction aid, but then he had in the dungeon feat that gave a +4 to it instead of like a +2. So then he succeeded the aid and gave a +4, which was enough to succeed and stabilize them. I was like, damn, man. I was like, I'll let you do
dungeon feat gives you a +4. It doesn't give the person you're aiding a +4.
No, it gave him a +4, sorry, to his roll. And then
which allowed him to crit. And
right.
then
He rolled like an 11, and I was like, or whatever he needed. And I was like, oh, you did it. He's like,
That's
you just
awesome.
made it.
Well, you know what? They made 2 big mistakes, blunders, one of which is they split the party, and the other of which is they didn't know who Jess is.
Ugh.
That was the mistake they made. So if they had maybe then that level 3 creature that belongs to a fairy that looks like
I was like, what are you talking
similar
about?
to Jess, given the fact that it
right.
was not based off of her in any way, as far as I know.
So
that level 3 creature might not have attacked them if they'd just known who she was.
So there's this funny thing, Gavin, in this adventure that I designed. There is one of the key NPCs who they've been actually dealing with a lot. The picture of the NPC looks exactly like Jess. Like it's actually her teeth, everything is exactly the smile, everything's the
hair
same.
Color is
everything.
very similar.
And I was like,
coincidentally,
it's just coincidence. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
He hadn't even met her by the time that he ordered the art for that character.
Yeah, the first time Steven and I met in person, he was like, "You look exactly like this piece of art. Let me show you."
And it's kind of stunning.
Maybe have channeled you.
Well, yeah, maybe, or maybe they used you as inspiration. Possible. But so I said, I'm like, it looks like Jess, and my player's like, who's that? I'm like, how dare you? You don't watch the show. How dare you not watch my own show? Anyhow, actually, I want to talk a little bit about old school essentials because that is like also like everyone. Actually, I got my books. Where's my books? I'm gonna go get my books. I'm getting up to get my books. Where are they? Oh, they're not over here. I put them in the drawer. I reorganized my office, so it's actually it's somewhere over there. I'm not going to go through all my drawers, but that's like you. I don't know if you started OSR, but you were definitely in the beginning there of like the whole OSR type movement, like with old school.
I would kind of say old school essentials is more sort of mid OSR. Like
for sure,
the real early OSR was kind of around 2008-9.
Okay,
I think like Swords and Wizardry, Osric, and Labyrinth Lord, Basic Fantasy. I think we're around then, 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
Which is when I got into it as a player and a kind of early blogger. But until, I didn't publish my own game until I think the kind of precursor of old school essentials was BX Essentials, which was, I think, around 2017. So a bit later.
But still, people love old school. I see it all the time. People are always writing for it. It's just, I don't know. You hit a mark with that thing, or hit a vibe. I think the layout and the art and the strong use of tertiary. I love the strong use of the tertiary colors because that, in my mind, always harkens back to the 70s and 80s, and I think that really worked good, really well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, as a kid, I played BX, D&D, and like AD&D. Second edition actually is what I played, not first edition. And then kind of, drifted away from role playing in my 20s and then came back to it in my 30s. And first of all, I went back to my 2 ebooks because that's what I had in the attic, kind of thing. And then I think it was around that time, 2008, I started reading online and seeing like, one, there was like D&D third edition was this big thing, which I hadn't heard of at all until that point. And the OSR was just kind of forming. And kind of, I tried some of the newer games. Like I think, when was 4E released? Because I remember trying 4E
2008.
when it was very new.
Was it like 2008 or so?
Yeah, it was around then, wasn't it? Yeah. Because I remember
Must have been 2008, I think.
I think it
Yeah.
is. I think it is.
Pathfinder beta version and 4E were among the first kind of new games I played at that time.
Mhm.
I had fun, but like I was playing Savage Worlds for a while as well. But I kept sort of harking back to the feel of the games that I played as a kid. And then eventually I was like, well, actually, maybe why don't I just go back and play basic D&D? And kind of never looked back from there.
So now it's Dolmenwood and Old School,
Yeah.
and and more of the same coming up. So I'm actually, I mean, I really am stunned about Dolmenwood. Are you surprised about like how it took off? Because I never see anyone who say, "Oh yeah, Dolmenwood," but everyone always says, "Dolmenwood, oh my god, I love it." It's always something like that. They're always you never hear someone not say how much they love it. And just we're
Right,
looking
awesome.
at just even the design, because how can you not like the design? Because the design, I'm a big design person. Like I'm big into form and function and layout and structure. Because people don't look at books. I just said this yesterday on the stream. It's like people don't look at a book and go, if when they're at a booth, go, "Oh my god, these words! Look at these words! They're so amazing!"
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they can be amazing, but no one does that. Okay,
Yeah.
so you have to
Yeah.
have a beautiful layout so people
Mhm.
read the words. Unfortunately,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when we launched the Kickstarter, it wasn't unknown. I hoped we would be as successful as we were, but I didn't really know really how much interest there was in this kind of game and how much of a market there was for it. I knew the Kickstarter would fund and would be successful, but to go over 1 million, and I think we ended up at 1.3 something million, like that was a very pleasant surprise. And I think it's really set the ground for taking Dolmenwood a lot further now. Of course, if it hadn't been that successful, then we wouldn't necessarily be thinking about a lot of new supplements and adventures and stuff like that. But it was very popular, so it's ripe for a lot of expansion, which is really fun.
are you going to let someone else write it? Or are you going to be stuck in that cave for the rest of your life?
No, it's since then I've got a couple of writers working with me as part of Necrotic Gnome. So like there's 3 of us now, and an editor we have. So there's kind of 4 of us, and working with like various freelancers as well. So
Jess is an excellent freelancer if you need someone
yes,
else.
so I hear.
And Jess seems to like the setting quite a bit.
It's cool, yeah.
Jess wrote our Leshy book.
Send me an email. Pass my email on, Stephen, please. We can definitely chat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she wrote our Leshy Dragons book. So
Oh, cool! Right.
it was very similar in style
Right.
and
Nice.
flavor. So. Wow, you have a whole section on just beer and ciders. You really got into it. I was like,
Yeah. Again, just flavor. Like there's no like mechanics or kind of like gameplay benefits to which kind of beer you drink. But I don't know, for me, and I think for players who love that kind of flavor, like going to an inn and having an actual like concrete list of these are the drinks they have for sale. Like, I think that really adds a lot to the game for players who are into that kind of thing.
it's just a thing. I always hear people make fun of this. They're like, "Oh, this is so." But then in my game, we have specific menus that have been designed by some of my players and then I use it in the game, and then the other players are like, "Oh my god, that is so cool!" And then they're sitting there, and I'm like, "You made fun of it, and now you love it." Like pick a lane, guys. You can't have it both ways.
Right.
I get it why people make fun of it, because they see it and they're like, maybe it's like, well, those pages you spent on beverages or pipeweed or common fungi and herbs and specialist services, you could have put more monsters or more spells, and I want that. I want crunch. But at the same time, your books are 400 pages, so it's not like you weren't like skimping out here. You weren't like, making them smaller. And also,
people don't understand, when you're a creator, it's usually the difference between, do I have these 2 pages of drinks, or is the book 2 pages shorter?
Right.
Because I'm either going to include the drinks or not, but not having the drinks is not suddenly going to add 2 monsters or
something else. Yeah.
They always think it is, though. People just so much think of things as a zero-sum game, and so it causes them to be upset about something being included that is really harmless to them, but is something that they find is not worth their while.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think all that flavor stuff is optional. Like, sometimes you're playing a game and you just want to say, okay, we go back to the inn and we rest for 3 days, we regain whatever hit points, let's go. Other times, you're arriving in a new town, you want to kind of check out the inn, talk to the innkeeper, look for some rumors, order some food, play out. Do you have any rooms available? This kind of thing. Like, for me, that really is like a very nice, flavorful part of role playing. Doesn't have to always happen, but when it happens, it's nice to have the flavor support there for it in these like pipe leaves and beverages and things like that.
You feel like you don't need it.
Sorry?
You feel like you don't need it until suddenly you do, because you have the player who always asks for it. Like in that Pathfinder game that I talked about that we were playing with my brother and sister-in-law, my brother is an inventor, and he asks my wife, who's running it, every time that we come across anything, he's like, "Oh, that wood, what type of wood is it? Could I use it to make something?" And then, or like the stone or the minerals, and she has to look up online and be like, "What kind of minerals could that be?" Because the adventure doesn't say. And so you have the person who's asking these questions, and it's just in there, and you have the guy who wants to know his tea, or the lady who wants to know her wine, and it's in there. That's just an amazing thing, because you can be like, "Oh, well actually, actually, it's a Fag ice wine," and they're like, "Wow, okay," and you're like, "Yeah, it inspires a drowsiness punctuated by serene visions of snowdrifts, because it's imported for the far eastern reaches of the duchy, and you just got this." And
it's so interesting. In like a traditional fantasy, like a D&D or a Pathfinder game, you're playing an inventor, you see this like lumber stack, and you ask the GM, "Oh, what kind of wood is this? Can I use this material?" And then it's on the GM to like, "Okay, give me like 10 minutes to go like looking this up and figuring out what type of wood this is." Versus if this were a Powered by the Apocalypse game, your inventor would have a move that you triggered that is this material useful to me? And you would roll, and the dice would decide, either you as the player get to declare what useful material this is, or it's not useful to you.
Or the GM makes a move because you rolled bad, and the wood is like an evil
Termite
wood that eats you, and your mind is shattered by the wood somehow. Everything was bad.
Never mess with wood again.
But just the chores that are assumed to be placed on the GM in like a D&D Pathfinder kind of game, where like, I want to know if this wood is useful to me, but instead of the question just being, "Is this wood useful to me? Yes or no?" the question is, "What kind of wood is this? Look up what kind of wood it is." Now I'm going to refer to my chart of useful woods and see if that's on there. Instead of just like, "Hey GM, can I use this wood?" Sure.
That's just how it is. Like, this is a classic old adventure path for Pathfinder 2. Not that any of them are that old. And goblins made a signal flare that was like a red flame or something like that in the beginning of the adventure. and my brother was like, what mineral did they use to make that signal flare? Can I use that for something else? I'm gonna ask the goblins to provide me some of whatever they were using there. And then so Linda was like, let me see what would create a brilliant red signal flare necessarily. And I mean, your GM doesn't have to be someone who's scrupulous enough to look up chemical reactions in real life. They could just be like, it was scarletite, a new mineral that I invented that makes fiery red flame.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm curious. I'm always curious about systems that only have 12 spells per level or like 10 spells per level. Because I'm used to here's your 10,000 spells at level 1. You know, I mean, I feel like you don't need that many spells, but I also feel like 10 or 12 is almost too few because you kind of need some core spells, and then those 12 just take up the core, and then you don't have anything extra. So, what's the design philosophy of having you just wanted them to fit on 2 pages? I mean, could it be as simple as that? As like, I just want everything to be a 2-page spread?
Thing, definitely, each level of spells fits on 2 pages. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just generally a little bit more of a minimalist approach that, like, you know, you've got the real core, like, essential spells there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, leaves open space for supplements like this. Potential, like, player-facing supplement I talked about would probably have more spells in it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I love spells as well. Like, I love the AD&D 2nd edition spell list, which got like super huge eventually. But as well, I think most of the spells on lists like that are pretty obscure, so aren't really necessary for play.
Well, but it's like I'm looking. It's like, because you always have to have invisibility, you always have to have fireball, you always have to have lightning bolt, you always have to have haste, you always have to have fly, you always have to have water breathing, you always have to have web, mirror image, levitate. You know, I'm like, and it's funny because that's what I'm saying. It's like, because you always have to have these essentials, then you just only have like almost essentials. You always have to have shield, glyphs, light.
But
these are all.
Is it wrong to have a list of spells that is only essentials?
No, I'm not saying
it is admittedly the opposite of having things like different types of tobacco and wine and having all of your side content in that. It's a different philosophy, but I think that there can be a value, because choice paralysis is real when you give people too many choices and they're just like, I don't want to play a spellcaster because I know it's awesome that I can choose between 200 different spells for this, but I'm also intimidated because I have to read 200 different spells for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think for character options, definitely the old school framework is more minimal in that respect. You know, like the number of spells per day characters get as well is a lot less than they would be in like 5e or Pathfinder. So, and just generally, obviously, the number of abilities characters get in general.
So, question was not for you directly, but it's have you seen Indestructible's modular magic system in Vagabond? It's amazing. Have him on. Well, I'll probably have him on, but better yet, if you go to PAX Unplugged, Indestructible is going to be doing a appearance and signing at the Roll for Combat booth, where Jess is also doing a signing and appearance, and maybe she'll even do character art for you. So that's new, Mark. That just happened today.
No, that's awesome. But Steven, I am so proud of you, because not only did you correctly pronounce Indestructible's name, but the person who asked the question incorrectly put in the exact pronunciation that you usually do of Instructiboy, and you still did it right. It's fantastic. Next up is Dolmenwood. Dolmen, like the portal stone. It's a real word.
I say Dolmen.
You always say Dolem, like a golem with a D.
It's my New York accent. All right, leave me alone. All right. Don't make fun of me because I said herb instead of herb. Okay.
That's just the difference between British and American English.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I've actually seen the spelling Dolmenwood online a lot, and I'm always like scratching my head, like why this particular typo, Dolmenwood?
I think it's golem.
Because of golem.
So I was chatting with people about it the other day.
I'm going to tell you,
they suggest this golem.
That's an American thing. Dolem. I guarantee it. That's got to be an American.
It's not
thing.
even just Steven's accent, because I can show you the folder he sent that had the files in it of Dolmenwood. It actually says Dolmenwood, D-O-L-E-M wood.
Well, because you have a hard M after an L, and it doesn't flow as well.
Yeah,
I'm not criticizing it,
but it's a real
I
English
know
word.
it's a real word, but it's not. It doesn't flow. It's Dolan. Dolan's quick, and Dolan's actually is like I've seen like towns and stuff. There's like provinces and whatever like counties here named Dolan. So it's a word, but Dolim doesn't mean anything here. So
right.
And it's harder to say. It's a hard M over an L, which is tough.
Well, maybe in 20 years we'll have Dolmenwood second edition. It'll just be called D-Wood.
D-Wood. There you go.
It's interesting. Steven, can you pronounce the last name Coleman?
Coleman?
Yeah, you got it. It's the same thing, just with the D.
No, it's not. It's not an M. An M is a different mouth shape.
It is an M. It's D-O-L-M-E-N. Dolmen.
Right. I said an M has a different shape than an N and then an N. N is quick and M is M. N.
It is an M. It's
M
Coleman.
It's
Coleman, Steven, but just with the D.
Versus
Dolmen.
Different. Anyhow. This is why I have things.
Dolnem. That is
Dolnem. That's not hard at all.
Dolm, because it's Dolmenwood, and we have learned you have. I guess everything is 3 syllables. Shadowdark, Battlezoo, Dolmenwood,
Daggerheart.
Yeah.
No, we
old
always
school as Angels.
Old school.
Or no, that would be OSE.
OSE, right? Yeah.
That's why everyone calls it OSE. It has 2 syllables otherwise.
Yeah. You need this 3 syllables. And if you don't, then it fails. I'm only half kidding. It's like you actually kind of need that rhythm.
Success,
You do need a rhythm to your name of your product. The only problem is that everyone starts, because we do it all the time. It's like, well, they will never do it with yours. It's like in Shadowwood or Daggerdark or Battlewood or Dolmendark. So it all gets mixed up, especially because they all sound so familiar. But fine, I can't pronounce things. All right, make fun of me.
I was starting by praising you for correctly pronouncing Indestructible Boy, because that's a tricky one.
Right. Well, it took me 3 years, and now I got it. So I'm bad at pronunciation. What can I say? I always have been. That's why my parents wouldn't let me take French, because they're like, "You can't take French. You can't pronounce anything." I was like, "Thanks."
To be fair, back when you would have been taking French, which is like shortly after like my parents were taking it, when my parents went to France when they were younger, their slightly mispronounced French, like sometimes like the people there would just like pretend not to understand it at all because they were upset. And at one point, one of the people who was on the trip with them just like broke down crying because of being not understood. And then the person just immediately responded to them in English. Because they totally had understood the French. They just didn't like the pronunciation.
So, yeah, if you have to go, Gavin, we can wrap it up. We usually go like 5 hours, but we'll make it a little short for you.
Right, I was wondering about.
No, we don't go 5 hours.
No,
we usually go until Derik does that. We usually do 3 to 5 plus a little.
No, no, we usually do an hour and a half to 2. So we've done an hour and a half.
Okay, cool. Yeah, good.
So is the book? So the book is being shipped, but it's not out yet because you want it to get to the backers and then it's going to.
Yeah, it should be out at retail within the next month, something like that. Obviously, depending on the exact rate of fulfillment to backers. But yeah, hopefully within a month. Yeah.
And then everyone can have the book, and then you can finally relax. Get out of your cave. Go back into the other cave for the other book. Use different caves for each.
Bring a glass of Fagley's iced.
Well, there you go. Who did the layout, by the way? You didn't do the layout, did you? Or you had some?
I did the layout, yeah. Yeah, it was so the layout design, I worked with Vasily Kaliman on, who's also published some old school kind of RPG stuff. But yeah, the actual like shoving everything in the layout was my task as well.
Did you do that from the cave?
I guess so.
Yeah, amazingly, yeah.
I guess so.
He said he wrote directly into InDesign.
That's right.
You're right.
You're right. You're right.
You got it in the cave with InDesign.
Yeah, no, that does make sense.
They have a cave edition of InDesign. It's pretty useful. Adobe Creative Cave edition. Yeah.
That's what I was saying. It's like everyone who does, we were talking about who, like people who make their own game systems, almost every single one of them, they have to be able to write and do layout and design and editing. It's like, it's very hard to do this unless you know how to do like pretty much that. Like you have to have a little bit of everything. I think
naturally as you're starting as a new creator, like you're led into doing a bunch of this stuff yourself, aren't you? Because you at the beginning you can't afford to pay, freelance layout people or editors or whatever. So you naturally develop all these different skill sets.
Well, I think we may have solved the mystery of, like those cave paintings in Altamira and Lascaux, and sometimes they just kind of cut off and you're missing it. And it's like, what happened there is that they stopped paying the license for the cave edition of InDesign and Adobe.
I only need that for a month, yeah.
That's a good joke there, Mark. I give you a hero point. That was good. I like that. All right. Well, you're going to be at PAX Unplugged, and you're going to be at the Salted Funeral booth.
Yeah. So I'll be doing a couple of like officially sanctioned like signing sessions. Mm-hmm. I don't know the time slots for those yet, but we'll be publicizing that soon. Otherwise, I'll just be around the booth quite a lot anyway. If people want to come by
and just your first PAX Unplugged,
get me to sign a mushroom, things like that.
All right. Well, we'll definitely. Well, Jess will be there, so you guys can meet in person, and then you should hang out with us because I know where all the best food places are. So.
Sweet. I've never been to Philly before. So.
Well, really? Yeah, Jess and I have eaten. We had very good Italian a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. We went to a good Italian place. I have a couple of new places, Jess, that we can go. We found an amazing Chinese place in Chinatown. That's really it's one of those hardcore places that no one speaks English, and it's great. It was fantastic. So I want to go there again this year.
Yeah.
And it's big, and no one goes to it because no one knows about it. So you go in, it's totally empty, and that's it's a combination of finding good food that no one's at. So, Philly is fun. It's all decked out for the holidays. Food's good. Everything's walking distance.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Only 3 days, so it's a good con. And then at night, everyone goes to one bar to hang out, and that's it. So unlike Gen Con, where everyone goes to 50 bars and it's possible to find everyone, everyone goes to one bar. It is a madhouse, but everyone's there, so it's a combo.
Cool.
It's easy to find everyone.
I'll bring my earplugs.
You've been to it, haven't you? Have you been to that? No,
I haven't.
Okay, well, we'll bring you. There's like the bar area, but then there's also the lobby. So the lobby is like where the teetotalers and the hanger-ons that don't want to be in the mob go, and that's where you can hang out with Jess. And I actually hang out there a lot, and then you go into the mob, and it's like a mosh pit, and you're like, fight. But it's a good time. So, all right. Thanks so much, Abin, and I definitely. Looking forward to getting some books, and I actually want to try this. Is it on a VTT yet? Is it on anything? I know you gave out
it's
VTT
on Fantasy Grounds.
Oh, okay.
There's a Foundry implementation being developed.
Okay, cool.
We don't have a kind of timeline for that yet, but it's being converted. So, but Fantasy Grounds is out, and it has the whole obviously all the rules and the whole vast hex crawl with all the locations and items and everything all ready to go. So.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but as much as I do like my dead wood paper books, this is ripe for a VTT because it has so many tables, and it's all
the connections of things as well.
Yeah.
I love books as well, but just the hyperlinking in the PDF stuff and presumably the same on the VTT. Just if you're randomly in a hex. And it says this character also knows blah blah. You can just click immediately, and you're to the other thing. It's it's really useful for a detailed setting like this.
Yeah, this I think would be great. in a VTT. So looking forward to it.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay. Well, if that's it, then until next time, everyone, if you want to battle the zoo, you have to roll for combat. Take care. We'll see you next week.
Roll for combat.